Hello and welcome to Thursday Night Live. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show today. So I have a really interesting topic I'm going to be speaking about, and it's the new arbiters of truth. So I've just recently completed a new article, and I'm just really excited about it, and I wanted to share it with you. And so if you're interested in reading the whole thing, you can go to my webpage here. I'll put it up on the screen. soulhealer.com, and it's under the healthy living link. Anyway, so who are the new arbiters of truth? You know, there has always been this concept of thought control in this country and around the world. And we're often taught what we should believe. And what we see recently, but this has been going on throughout time, is that those who have dared to challenge the accepted truth are punished or swiftly silenced. But the reality is that we're all conditioned and we're all programmed. Everyone on this planet's been programmed. We've been taught what's right from wrong versus what's safe and not safe. We're taught the language that we speak. We're taught how to put clothes on, eat with a knife and fork, and even how to brush our teeth. And all the things that we do, in essence, are what makes us as humans be humans versus just being part of the animal kingdom. It's what separates us from every other organism on the planet. But these concepts aren't things that we just made up. They aren't things that we just came up with. They're instilled within us. You know, and it starts with our parents who teach us how to go potty and to tie our shoes. And as we get into school, the educators instill other beliefs and programming within us. We get older, society at large also adds to what we see, what we think is what reality is, what truth is. You know, so it starts at an early age, but it doesn't ever really stop. So you're probably going, well, I don't know about that. So I just am going to ask you a very simple question. And I know you can't respond to me in real time, but I'm going to ask the question. And I want you to accept or acknowledge the first thing that comes to your mind. And then we'll go from there. Okay, question. Who discovered America? So, I don't know about you, but even when I say this question out loud, in this moment, the first thing that comes into my mind is Christopher Columbus. Who else could it possibly be? But then my program brain has a moment to think and turn it off. And I can go, oh yeah, there was Leif Erikson around 1000 AD. And then there were those Native Americans that somehow found the New World some 13,000 years ago. And they must have discovered it because they were here long before we got here. And so that is the nature of the programming. It becomes instilled into who we are. And we just accepted that this is the reality. But when we're talking about the discovery of America, it was never really Christopher Columbus. It was just a lot of propaganda that was put out at that point in time in the world. And they thought it was true, but it wasn't really true. And see, I just have notes here, so excuse me for this. So up until recently, much of what we learned, especially as an adult, about the world around us came from newspapers, magazines, from the movies that we watched, from conversations that we had with people, from the radio. But in today's day and age, that situation, that dynamic has grossly changed. And so I asked Google Gemini, which is an AI program, you know, who's the propagators of reality today? And the response I got was social media and the internet, particularly the algorithms that control what we see. And it really is the case. But the question that I have is, what if the only opinions that are being presented to you in this electronic landscape are pre-approved by some unknown entity? You know, what happens if what we talk about or share online contradicts the storyline? What happens? You know, but sadly, for many people, that information and that material is suppressed. And you're probably thinking, that can't possibly be true. There's not that kind of thought control or censorship going on in our world. But let me keep going and you might maybe change your mind. Okay, so, and do I have a date on here? I do not. So during the Cold War, the US government wanted to disseminate propaganda to foreign adversaries to promote the American agenda. And so the State Department created the US Information and Educational Exchange Act of 1948, also known as the Smith-Mundt Act. And what this did was it allowed the government to produce material and then distribute to foreign countries as a way to sway public opinion. That act, the 1948 Act, however, prohibited, it made it illegal for these same publications to be disseminated in the United States. It was not allowed. Enter Barack Obama, and in 2013, he rescinded the United States he abolished the Smith-Mundt Act. And so what happened is that it gave the federal government and government agencies the opportunity to empower to shape public sentiment. And how did they do that? They did that by releasing government-issued propaganda. Okay. Let's shift topics here just a bit. And so we started out with radio, television, newspapers, movies, print, etc. But we're moving forward in time, and we have the introduction of the World Wide Web, the internet. And it was kind of a wild, wild west at that point in time. And the way people communicated in the early internet days was on bulletin boards and online forums, kind of like a Reddit kind of thing, you know, but different people had these boards set up, kind of like you have a website, like I could create a website, well, I could create a bulletin board, and other people could come and interact with things that were on my bulletin board. And so the question came before the court, should these companies that host these forums be liable for defamatory or illegal content that is posted on their sites? So not on their website, but on their platform, you know, so on their servers. And so there were two major cases that came before the court. The first one was Chubby versus CompuServe in 1991. And the court held that CompuServe was not responsible for defamatory information that was posted on their site, because it acted like a distributor of the information in the same way a bookstore sells books, but they don't edit them. And so CompuServe allowed anybody to post anything they wanted, and they didn't edit it at all. And so they were okay. In the second case, which was Stratton Oakmont Inc. versus Prodigy Services, 1995. And in that case, the court ruled that Prodigy was legally responsible for any offensive content on their platform. So Prodigy had done content moderation. So you put some kind of hate post or, I don't know, illegal content on their servers, and they were taking it down. And so because they were editing, they were considered more of a publisher. But at that point in time, they wanted to proliferate the use of the internet and wanted to come up with a solution to this conundrum that they were experiencing. So enter Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. And this was brought into play in 1996. And so Section 230 gave immunity to these content providers, so CompuServe and Prodigy, and any other site that allowed user-generated content. So like Facebook is all user-generated content. Web pages are user-generated content. YouTube, any social media platform is user-generated content. And so they were given immunity to anything like that, and also included in here. So let's say I have an article on my site, this article on my site, and I have the comments turned on, and people are putting really bad things in the comments. I would be responsible, before this law changed, I would be responsible for the things that people said in those comments. But also, as part of the law, it gave the platforms the opportunity to edit a certain amount of that information as a good Samaritan, and they were still able to keep their legal standing. And so any content that was considered, I have a list, obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, excessively violent, harassing, or otherwise objectionable could be taken down, and the platform would not lose its immunity. And the thought of it would make the web be a safer place for people. So in essence, it gave the platform the right to edit content and still be considered a distributor and not a publisher. But what happens? What happens when a platform doing their Good Samaritan duty promotes certain content over others? I'll leave you with that question. Moving forward, enter COVID-19. Now, how can we forget all of the accounts that were taken down off of Facebook, or people that had podcasts or other things on YouTube and their entire channel were taken down? I don't know about you, but I know a ton of people, and I know I spent a lot of time in Facebook jail for like sharing some funky meme or making some kind of comment that apparently was offensive. Not me, ever. And so their reasoning for taking down this material was that they were saving you from being exposed to misinformation or disinformation, or that you might offer an opinion that might mislead the public and cause harm. So they were saving us all through their Good Samaritan work. But websites during that period of time, and so this started in 2019 and continued to like 2022, but websites that had content that went against the accepted storyline were all devalued. And so that affected thousands of alternative health practitioners, as well as anyone that made claims that couldn't be backed up by rigorous scientific evidence or peer-reviewed studies. And so here are a few topics that would get you devalued, like if they caught you, which, they have algorithms, so they would catch you eventually, that would get you devalued on Google. Okay, so this is the Google policy. Any anti-vaccination websites, any websites that talk about alternative health, Any websites that talk about election and voting misinformation, whatever that, and so I'll explain that one. Websites that make false claim about election integrity, voting procedures, or the results of a democratic election has been targeted. Mass casualty or false flag events, ancient aliens, climate change denial, or genetic modification denial. And I'll read this one. Narratives that make scientifically unfounded claims that about the inherent dangers of genetically modified organisms, because you know they're good for you, or link them to specific disease without peer-reviewed evidence. Because obviously, if you have a concern consuming a genetically engineered piece of produce might cause some kind of issues, you're obviously a conspiracy theorist. Okay. And so anything that was considered controversial was devalued. And so online searches have become increasingly limited and, in my opinion, much more one-sided. And even if you're using AI to look for answers to your questions, while they offer a less censored perspective, they always seem to caveat and push the dominant narrative while downplaying opposing thoughts. So what's the nature of programming? So when someone tells us something is a fact, and then we hear the same bit of information over and over and over again, and everybody's screaming it from the rooftops, this is true, this is true. After a while, your brain is going to make the assumption that this fact, this bit of information is true, whether or not it is or not. And if access to alternative information is denied, then there's only one voice out there, theirs. You know, so there's what's going on, and it's not whether the media or digital sources can manipulate us, but rather how deeply and how pervasively that influence goes. And the deeper it goes and the more pervasive it is, the more heavily we're programmed. Think Columbus. So it doesn't end there. It doesn't end there. So in the UK, be glad you don't live in the UK. If you live in the UK, I'm just sorry for you. But in the UK in 2023, they ratified the Online Safety Act. And the Online Safety Act puts the burden of responsibility for the dissemination of illegal or harmful content, which might be misinformation, on the shoulders of the platform. And so if the platform doesn't take that off or demote it or anything like that, they can be fined up to $24 million. That's what I said, $1 million, which is bad. But it's even more insidious than that. They also added in an offense that's called the false communication offense. So if I sit there and talk about that the world, you know, that we live on a flat earth, and I try to present my information that the earth is flat, which is also something that gets you devalued on Google. And I'm trying to cause harm. I don't know how the flat earth would cause harm, but I'm just using that as an example. Then they can come after me. So they can go after the platform, and then they can go after me, and I could face a fine and up to 2 years in prison. Seriously. It doesn't end there. It doesn't end there. So what would you say if everything that you posted on Facebook, shared on YouTube, made a tweet about, you know, liked or subscribed to, was all of that information was being collected into what's called the digital footprint? And what if the value of your digital footprint was compared against what's considered the mainstream narrative? And if you went against the mainstream narrative and you were considered a bad person, a conspiracy theorist or whatever, that they could sit there and take your rights away. So you're thinking, she's crazy. There isn't anything like that going on. They wouldn't do something like that. But the reality is that they already do this in China. China has established what's called a social credit score. And so they take your public record, which would be all of your online stuff and behaviors, and tie that to your financial data and can grant or restrict access to services. So you might not be able to get a house. You might not be able to travel. I mean, weird stuff. And so there are several conspiracy theorists who suggest that a similar system is coming to the United States. Maybe Europe first. I mean, England's already got that Online Safety Act, so it doesn't take that big of a leap. But they're suggesting that, social media platforms are already analyzing your behavior. I mean, hell, you sit there and you talk about, I need to get acne cream, and the next thing you know, there's all acne cream ads in your Facebook feed, which is scary by itself. But imagine pairing that information along. Okay, so there's lightning outside, so hopefully my internet connection will stay up and I will stay here with you. But pairing that with your financial information, and the only piece that's really missing is them incorporating a digital currency system, a central bank digital currency system, which basically says there's no more cash. And so if you want to do a transaction, it is only with your debit card or credit card or something like that. So if you want to buy drugs or you want to buy an illegal gun or do anything like that you would normally pay cash for, try to pay somebody under the table, you can't do it because cash is no longer king. And so if Kroger's not going to accept cash, and Starbucks isn't going to accept cash, and Walmart's not going to accept cash, and Macy's isn't going to accept cash, and nobody's going to accept cash, cash will be valueless. And the only way that you would be able to do anything or buy anything or get anything is through your little card. Well, what if you're a conspiracy theorist and think that there are bad things, that GMOs are bad? They could sit there and cancel your credit cards or block online transactions or restrict your ability to purchase certain products, all because of an old tweet. And it sounds implausible, but if you think about it, if you step outside of that programming kumbaya box that they have for us, it really sounds like it's something that's possible. But there is hope. So since the 2016 election cycle and the term fake news was brought to the forefront, there are an increasing number of people who suspect that there's a man standing behind the curtain trying to control the show. And this crackdown on free speech, has exposed legacy media, social media, and the draconian changes in search engines for what they are, the purveyors of thought control. So this has caused ordinary people who once accepted the status quo to suddenly question what is true and what is falsehood designed to control them. And so their reward for independent thought is now they have this giant label that says conspiracy theorist, which I personally wear very proudly. So are we being shaped by a new set of gatekeepers who are wielding a more powerful tools than ever before? Are we unknowingly or mistakenly feeding the very platforms that filter our worldview that might in the future restrict our choices and punish us for independent thought? Is it a new subtle form of control that preys on our need for connection while quietly directing our thoughts all under the guise of freedom. And I will leave you with that. And I know that that's pretty heavy, but I tell you, I wrote this whole thing in 2 days. It was just like, anyway, guys, so if you would like to read the article, if you would like to reach out to me, my webpage is soulhealer.com. That's soulhealer.com. I would love to hear from you. You can set up a time for a private consultation. If you're listening to this show in a pre-recorded format and you would like to join the fun, because I'm going to start doing free on-air psychic readings as soon as I'm done with this, go to my YouTube channel, which is Just Energy Radio at YouTube, and join the fun. And don't forget to, connect with me on social media, YouTube, Substack, Twitter, and Rumble. This article is also posted on my Substack account, which is at Dr. Rita Louise. I would love for you to come. I post a lot of material on that site. Okay. Anyway, guys, I am going to pop a lozenge because I talked for a long time today, but that's okay because I really felt like I needed to share this information with you guys. So, okay. I'm going to go over to the comment thing, say hi, go up to the top and get the show on the road. Marco's in the house and he says, upvoted, Rita, you look hot. Hair, lips, just amazing. Okay, Master Player's here and he says, evening and number 2, please, and thank you. And you sure can, Master Player. Interesting. Okay, that's your card for today. Okay, so Master Player, it's interesting. So what they're sharing with me is that I feel like you've kind of gone through this period of static, and I don't want to say confusion, but things really not being grounded, really not feeling particularly directed, kind of, but not, thus the static. And I feel like that's clearing off. I feel like the clarity of the information is starting to come back to you so that you can hear it and take action on it. And so just be thankful and have gratitude that that dynamic within you has shifted and things are opening back up and moving forward again. Cool. All right. Amy, hi, Dr. Rita. Hope you had a good week. Even if Marco thinks you have amazing hair. Thank you, Amy. Christine says, hello, good evening. May I have a number 2, please? You sure can, Christine. All right, Christine, that's your card for today. So, Christine, this is interesting. I'm sensing this heaviness around you. I feel like you are so ready to just let it go. Interesting. So when I asked myself, well, what are you holding on to it for? Because you obviously are not liking it. I feel like you shifting it by you letting it go, you feel like you're going to hurt someone. I feel like there's someone else in this picture and you don't want to do that, or you're trying to figure out a way to minimize their discomfort. So I'd like to use this as a moment to talk about our energy and boundaries. Christian, I hope this is okay. But if we're walking around and we're not feeling good and we're feeling heavy and we're feeling anxiety and all of these things are going on inside of us, because of another person and us not wanting to hurt that other person. Now, granted, there are times and situations where that's appropriate to do, to bite your tongue and kind of wait. But if that's the habit, if that's the pattern, that you're not doing something because you don't want to hurt that person, and that's a reoccurring cycle in your life, then you really need to look at that and go, okay, but I'm hurting, I'm feeling pressure, I'm feeling anxiety, and they're not. And so maybe I shouldn't burden myself with this, and maybe I need to just unload it and say what I need to say or do what I need to do and honor myself so that I can feel good. I mean, sometimes we hold on to this stuff and we really end up torturing ourselves, which isn't really good. Okay. Thank you, Christine. Karen says, hi, Dr. Rita. Happy Thursday. May I have a reading number 3? Thank you. You sure can, Karen. So did my piece today kind of scare you guys? I know when I was working on it, it was a little upsetting. Okay. And Karen, that's your card for today. So Karen, are you hitting and the word I'm going to use is fear. That's probably not the best word to apply here. I mean, I'm almost getting this like deer in a headlight thing from you, which is a fear response. I feel like you want to move forward. I feel like there's this big hesitation. I feel like, it might come to you, you might register it as procrastination. But I feel like the real thing that's going on is that there's some fear hitting you and you're not moving that fear to the side so you can just move forward with what you're doing. I hope that makes sense. All right, Yvonne. Yvonne says, hello, Dr. Rita. Look good. Can I get a reading number 2? You sure can. And of course, everyone, if these readings are making sense to you, please let me know down below. I'd appreciate it. All right, Yvonne. Yvonne, that's your card. So Yvonne, the first word that's coming to me is frustration. Kind of sitting underneath that is confusion. I feel like you feel like you've tried all of this stuff, but it's not really working. It's not really moving forward. And so thus the frustration, the confusion from, well, then I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing. And when I ask the question, they're like, don't worry about it. And you don't really need to be doing anything, at least not in that push, drive, move forward area. So maybe it's time to just kind of take a step back, maybe rest, spend some time in meditation and quiet contemplation. I feel like you are kind of sitting in front of your body, trying to push things, and You need to bring it back. You need to bring it back into present time, and then it will start to flow again. I think the energy on the planet has been a little bit challenging. Like, I don't really understand the Schumann resonances, and somebody asked me to do a piece on it, but I really couldn't get a lot of data that I felt would be useful to this room. Because people on Facebook will post these Schumann resonance chart things, and I don't really understand them. But from what I gather, the last 24 or 48 hours, there have been all of these white spikes that are coming down, so like, I guess that's down from the sky. I don't know. This isn't the part I don't know. But apparently that's kind of like supposed to be like shaking things up and creating this awakening. And so that would be good. I know that it has been a little bit unsettling the last few days. And so if you're hitting that energy, just be okay with it and don't beat yourself up over it. All right. So Amy says, I have a reading number 2. Thank you. You sure can. Okay, so Amy, that's your card for today. So Amy, your energy is a little bit like Yvonne. When I look at you, I mean, you just seem like you got this low level vibration going on. I feel like you're not really relaxing. I am sensing, kind of confusion, like you're asking source, what should I be doing? And you're just getting like crickets happening. And I think that that's kind of where things are right now. And for all you guys, if that's where it's at for you, then it's okay, and just surrender to, I like to say that the universe tests us, and it plays tricks, and it does stuff like this. It's just like cut you off. It's like, you're doing really good and you're listening, and then it just totally cuts you off from the energy, from the information, and you're like, okay, but what am I supposed to be doing? And we all hate a void, and so we try to fill that void in, and maybe see. And I'm really getting a lot out of this personally, I have to tell you. Maybe we're not supposed to be filling in that void. Maybe we're supposed to be accepting the void and just being okay with it. Again, good time to work on yourself, work on your practice, your meditation, your tapping, whatever. Hi, Unar. All right, so she says, hello, Dr. Rita. Jeez. Okay, so I have to stop here for a second. Oh, so the next text is from ERRT Radio, and he goes, hey, what time is it? And I look at his timestamp, and it says 6:55. So you guys were here like way early if I've already gone through this much of the list, and we haven't even hit 7 o'clock. Well, hell, I shouldn't even be talking to any of you because it's not even 7 o'clock. Okay. So Unar, that's your card for today. So one of the things that you're showing me is that I feel like you feel that things are being pulled together again. I feel like, you were really scattered, or there was just a lot of stuff going on, and it's kind of calmed down, and you're experiencing a little peace, and and like the universe is working for you right now, and you're breathing better. Enjoy it, revel in it, thank it. Do anything you can to just honor this place that you're in right now. I mean, because it has been challenging. I mean, hell, it's been challenging for a couple of years, and then there's like more or less challenging as we go day to day. All right, ERRT Radio. I guess you just need to get here earlier. I think you need to come on Wednesday to get your early slot for Thursday night. Oh, I'm skipping down. May I have a reading number 3, please? Thank you. And your hair looks amazing. Thank you. Okay, good card. That's your card for today. So ERRT Radio, I'm going to make the assumption that something has shifted for you in the positive. I feel like this worry that you had been carrying around with you has, been removed. I feel like because that weight is gone, you are able to start processing and moving into your future. Even though you were doing that before, but there was always this business that you had to finish and this worry about the business that you had to finish. And I feel like that's pretty much concluded, and you can put the period there and move on. So congratulations and good job. Well, I answered my own question. I was trying to set up my utilities on my new place. Woohoo! Woohoo! Hey, Eric, how are you doing? Yvonne says intuition and common sense wins. Yvonne says we're in the truth century, but don't speak your truth because you'll be demoted, demonetized, censored, or labeled. All right, let's see. And then she said, safe and effective. You're on a roll tonight, Yvonne. All right, these are all lowercase. Okay, Unar says, truth is hidden in plain sight and there's nothing new under the sun. No, there's not. ERRT Radio in response to the article. I'll give them a digital footprint. Would that be like a digital Bigfoot print? Hey, Ricky. He says, good evening, Dr. Rita. How lovely you're looking today. Your hair looks fabulous as always. Now I have a number 2. Please, thank you so much. You sure can, Ricky. Okay. That's your card for today. So Ricky, I get the impression that there's this stuff that you're supposed to be doing, and there's part of you that like really wants to go and move forward with it and in it. And then there's this other part of you that really doesn't want to have anything to do with it, and you don't really want to do anything. And there's a certain level of resistance to it. So, okay. So in this dynamic that I've been kind of talking about with other people, I can see that just in general, because that's how the energy's kind of been. But if what I would like for you to do is to check in, because if you're doing this stuff for yourself, and if this like go and do vibration is your own stuff that you're wanting to go and do, great. You know, take a little break and then go and do. If this resistance and is because somebody else wants you to do it, then maybe you need to just like say you don't want to do it. Or if it really is something that you have to do, you know, like tomorrow I'm going to clean my bathroom, not my favorite thing on the planet, but I'm going to try to approach it with neutrality and have it be like not the most unfavorite thing that I ever do on the planet, but a neutral thing that I do on the planet, and just get it done and just get it done. So I hope that makes sense to you. All right, let's see. So ERRT Radio did a search on moving trucks, and now they're flooding his email and Facebook with ads. Hey, Antone, how are you today? Thank you, ERRT Radio. Unar says, I suggest throwing the TV out the window. You know, Unar, I was of that mindset for a very, 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 very long time. And anymore, I have found it easier almost on somewhat. I mean, I don't like listen to it all the time, but easier almost to kind of keep informed of what's going on, so that when I feel my energy being jerked around all over the place, I have a clue of what's happening versus I don't know what's happening and I'm being subject to it. Hey, Martin, how are you doing? Nice to see you. Yvonne says, they're being exposed. Be careful which wolf you feed. Good to spread the word. Oh, you're so welcome. Hi, Mary Lynn McKenzie. May I get a reading? Just whatever you get. You sure can, Mary Lynn McKenzie. So I am going to do a number 2 shuffle for you. So that means I'm going to shuffle twice on your behalf. And you're new here, so welcome to Thursday Night Live. And I hope you like it here, and we'll come back. Okay, so here's your card for today. Okay, interesting. So Mary Lynn, you know, I've been talking about a lot of people feeling vague and kind of scattered. For you, I feel a different energy. I feel like there's something that you've been thinking about, working on, etc. And you have been kind of like circling the target for a while. And I feel like you are to the point that you're ready to go in and get it. It almost feels like it's been this surgical extraction. Like I need to have all of these things lined up in a row in a very specific way in order to make this next step happen and make this next step work. And I feel like you've taken the time and energy to get things lined up appropriately and that you are ready to take that next step. So good luck with that. But I feel like it is, there's good energy around it and an appropriate choice on your part. Okay, Master Player says, thank you, Dr. Rita, you're welcome. All right, Christine says, makes sense because I'm talking to a new guy and I don't want to hurt my friend for some reason. I can see that. And it's Lady Spitfire, hello again from Georgia. And can I have a number 1 of 3 times? You sure can, Lady Spitfire. And welcome back. Nice to see you. All right, and that's your card for today. Okay. Interesting. So, Lady Spitfire, I'm not sure, exactly what happened, but I feel like you have made the decision that you're tired of having your energy kind of dragged around all over the place. I feel like you have made the decision to stand up for yourself and claim your autonomy. Um, I feel like it isn't 100% now. You're kind of gathering those forces, and kind of talking yourself into it a little bit. Um, but you're tired of being subject to everybody else's energy and no one really giving a damn about yours. So good job, because that is the first step in self-worth and self-esteem. So good job. Okay. And then there's Dawn. Hey, Dawn. Hi, Dr. Rita. I thought I was on the right side. I guess not. But I still have a reading number 3. Yes, you sure can, Dawn. Dawn, you should come to the YouTube channel. I mean, do you have YouTube? Do you have a YouTube account? Because there are so many more people that, come to the show through that portal and use Facebook. Just saying. And what am I doing? A 3. All right, Dawn, 3. Okay, and that's your card for today. So Dawn, I'm feeling like your energy feels a little bit down today, and that's okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, with bad Dawn being a 10, I'm going to put you at like a 4. I feel like it's really recoverable. What I'm feeling like is like you didn't get enough sleep and you're just a little cranky, so just have that be okay, because it's not forever. I'm going to challenge you too, Dawn, to take a moment, because you're really not in a super bad place, but to take a moment and kind of look back over the last day or so to see what shifted your energy from being neutral or content, because you've been having moments of content, to kind of this place, like what happened to drop your energy down. And I feel like that's something that you need to start doing, is what caused your energy to drop down. Was it a person? Was it a situation? Was it a place? But once you can start identifying those things that interfere with your ability to experience joy, the easier it's going to be for you to change those things in your life. Okay, so that's the challenge, Dawn. And I would challenge anybody who, has a hard time in keeping positive energy, and being happy, having joy in your life. If that's a challenge for you, notice. I talk about this a lot, but notice those moments when your energy shifts. And it might be the next day that you're like, wow, I'm kind of in a bad place, and I'm still in a bad place from yesterday. So what was it that made the energy shift? Did somebody say something to you? Did you get stuck in traffic? What was it? Because once you start paying attention to that, what it is, you will start to see a pattern and be able to start making different choices based on that pattern, or have aha moments based on that pattern. Bye, Lady Sapphire, Spitfire. All right, Nina. Hi, Nina. And then Dawn says, never mind, I won't be back. What do you mean, never won't be back? And then Just a Dude says, woman, stop scamming people. Don't know who you are, Just a Dude, but welcome to the show. Amy says, thanks for the reading. Super focused on finding a solution to what is causing severe dizziness for the past few months. Interesting, Amy, because see, this is part of that weird ass energy. So I've been having that issue for the last couple weeks. My boyfriend's been having kind of the same issue. One of the things I would like for you to do is check your blood pressure. So if you're feeling faint, two things. One, drink a big ass glass of water because it might be you're dehydrated. And then two, check your blood pressure. You know, one of the things that I noticed was that I was feeling a little faint. I took my blood pressure and it was 97. It's been worse, but it was 97 over something. So, and then Ricky says, yes, thank you very much, Dr. Rita. You're so welcome. And then Master Player says, great show tonight and great hair. Thank you, Master Player. And always, guys, you know, if your reading was good for you, and if you would like, and I would like it, you know, stop by soulhealer.com/live. That's soulhealer.com/live. And leave a little something in the tip jar. I would really appreciate it. All right. Unar, but can you really trust what the TV is telling you to be true? Well, hell no, you can't trust the TV to tell you what's true. I like watching it and going and like using my BS meter and go, okay, I'm not feeling that, you know, and so it actually becomes kind of a game, and you watch it and it's like, okay, so what's the next chess move that they're going to make? And sometimes I get, you know, not anxious, but it's like, okay, so we're poised for another move. So what's that going to be? And it kind of is a little bit of a game to me now. All right, let's see, where am I? I got a second here. All right, Amy said, great show tonight. Okay, guys, well, that's it for today. As always, if you would like to schedule a private consultation with me, go to my webpage, soulhealer.com. That's soulhealer.com. Drop me a note, and we can set up a time for a private consultation. You can read my article, The New Arbiters of Truth. It's in the article section under Healthy Living. There's some other new articles. I have like 3 new articles that I've just recently posted. If you want to read this whole thing. Anyway, guys, till next week, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Thursday Night Live. Be blessed.